Now then, Vinyl Monkey here, and welcome to this video. This video is my entry to the Robert Zee Lottery. I'll say a little bit about that in a minute. I'm dressed actually in tribute to the originator of this lottery, and I would urge anyone, I've only just come across him via watching somebody else's entry, and I've just watched all of his videos. There aren't many because I suspect this guy, it sounds like he's been around a long time, but he's deleted for whatever reason all his old stuff, and there's only some reason he sort of started again, as it were, but and I don't know what the sort of background reasons are to that, but anyway, Robert Zee, and his channel is Robert Zee too, and yeah, just I would urge anyone who hasn't come across him to seek it out. It is great stuff, but I'll come on to that later. And he set up this thing called the lottery, which is meant to be like, if you win this little contest, then it's like, for vinyl collectors, it's the equivalent to winning the lottery. And essentially he's got 26 volunteers, I think, one for every letter of the alphabet, and whoever wins this lottery by answering the 10 questions is going to get sent something by each of the volunteers who've each been ascribed a letter. So volunteer 1 will have the letter A, and they'll have to send me something beginning with the letter A. Could be anything, record, a book, a poster, anything. It could be anything at all. So you get 26 items sent through the mail by these volunteers if you win this contest. So anyway, Robert set 10 questions, and I'm going to rattle through them because I've only got one day to enter this. The closing date is tomorrow, and my answers will not do justice to the questions. If you look on his site, you'll find that Robert does one video for each question. So he spends between 15 to 25 minutes posing each single question. And I mean, the first 5 or 10 minutes of those videos he might be nowhere near the question. You know, there's a whole load of preamble, but really, yeah, I urge you to watch it. Brilliant stuff. So here we go. So Robert's first question or scenario is, pretend it's Christmas. You've got Ebenezer Scrooge around there. You're putting on a big sort of party, and like in the Christmas Carol, you 3 ghosts come to the party, and who would you invite as your 3 ghosts? And these being ghosts obviously have to be people who are deceased. So I'm going to go through who mine would be and why very briefly. So the first ghost I would invite is Mr. Gil Scott Heron. This is his album Free Will. My second ghost, Miles Davis. This is the brilliant Bitches Brew. And my third ghost, the one and only Mr. Jimi Hendrix, and this is his live album. I love this live album, Hendrix in the West. So why would I invite those 3? Because I think these 3, I mean there are many others, but these 3 would just be able to demonstrate the potential beauty in the world through their art, through their poetry, through their music, and convince fairly easily Mr. Scrooge that the world can be a beautiful place if you open your heart to the art that these people can provide. So they're my 3 invitees to the Christmas party. Question 2. What song, if you never ever heard that song again for the rest of your life, would be too soon? I.e., what song would you never ever want to hear, if possible, for the rest of your life? Well, this one was dead easy for me. People who know me will probably guess what I'm going to say. I once had the misfortune to be sort of strapped into one of these, what do they call them? Sort of magnetic scanning machines. Oh God, me, in hospitals, great big tunnel type contraptions that you get put in and get scanned and everything. I've forgotten the bloody name of them. It's letters, isn't it? Anyway, I was strapped into one of them, and suddenly the doctor next to me presses his little ghetto blaster on the counter there, and he plays this song, and I'm tied in and I literally can't do anything about it. He thought it was meant to relax people, but clearly he didn't know me at all. And that one song is Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, the worst single ever made in the history of popular music. I did go and see Queen, oh, they were absolutely terrible. I think they're alright for a joke band, but the problem I have with Queen is they seem to take themselves, and a lot of the people who go along to see them seem to take them somewhat seriously, and I don't know, dreadful stuff. So if I never hear that one again, which I'm sure I will, I'll be happy. Question 3. I've got to imagine that Robert Zee is in his chair and he's got a razor zapper gun to my head. Actually, when you watch his videos, images like that are not too difficult to conjure up. But anyway, he's going to fire this razor zap gun, and it can erase all memory of one LP. So if he could do that, and he could erase all memory of any one LP in my collection here, so that the next time I hear it, it would be fresh, and I would never have heard it before. What LP would it be? Well, I had to think long and hard about this, but the LP is T-Rex's Electric Warrior. This was the second LP I ever bought, I think, back in 1971. And I don't know, it's just absolutely mesmerises me today. Absolutely brilliant stuff. I'd love to hear this fresh again. Electric Warrior, T-Rex. Question 4. Imagine that there's an artist going to do you a Mount Rushmore type sculpture for your music room, maybe in bronze or something like that. On this Mount Rushmore type sculpture, you're going to have your four of your favourite singers. Who would they be? Well, I did some videos not so long back about my top 10 male and female singers, but some of them I didn't think would fit into a sculpture so well. Certainly my top male singer, and his features are too, I don't know, too rounded, and maybe he just wouldn't fit. So I thought about great singers, my favourite singers, but I also thought who I think would sculpt well and look well in such a sculpture. And my 4 are, and I've gone for all 4 male singers. So number 1, Mr. Elvis Presley. Number 2, the brilliant Scott Walker. Number 3, the one and only old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra. And number 4, the superb Mr. Marvin Gaye. So I think they would look great in bronze on my mantelpiece in this music room. Question 5. This has been a hard one. Think about myself, my personality, me as a person, as an individual. Imagine that my YouTube channel has been commissioned for primetime television, and they want to put a theme tune to it for the introduction as I'm walking onto this channel. What would that theme tune be? Well, he only wants one, Mr. Zee, and I don't want to go outside the boundary of his competition for all sorts of reasons. And so I struggled with this, but I did come down to one, and that is the introduction to the song Sound and Vision from David Bowie's Low. Everyone will be familiar with Sound and Vision, great single, but the intro is 1.5 minutes long before he utters the great words. Have you ever wondered about the gift of sound and vision? And I just think it's one of those brilliant intros. It would lend itself, I think it would just create the right sort of atmosphere for this for my TV show. And yeah, they were the days back in the 70s, the early 70s, when song intros, pop song intros, chart song intros were really fundamental part of the record themselves, the single themselves. And I heard on and they've disappeared. And the reason they've disappeared is because people have changed from putting records on to pressing buttons, and if they don't get instant gratification, i.e. the chorus or the main strapline or whatever it is, hitting you right in the face within 2 seconds, then they're flicking or clicking or whatever it is onto another record. So the average, someone did an analysis, and the average intro on the top 30 records in the early 70s was 14.5 seconds, whereas the average intro last year was something like 0.75 of a second. So anyway, there we are, my theme tune, Bowie's Sound and Vision. Question 6. Imagine that you're going to organise, plan, promote the most epic concert ever, live concert, celebrating 50 years of music, 5 decades of music, starting with the 60s, then the 70s, then the 80s, the 90s and the 2000s. Which bands would you commission, and you can bring them back to life, reform them, bring people back from the dead, I assume, if necessary, to represent each of those decades? Well, the 60s, I would love to have seen the Velvet Underground. I mean, I have seen Lou Reed, I've seen John Cale on several occasions, but I would have loved to have seen this band, particularly back in their day. This is their album White Light, White Heat, and they, for me, would be the band for the 60s. For the 70s, really, there's only one. I mean, there's so many great bands in the 70s, but the one that blew me away and caused me to smash most of my other LPs up, my early 70s LPs, all my prog collection and all my old dinosaurs of rock, and that is, of course, the Sex Pistols. They would be my band for the 70s. For the 80s, this is the Smiths. Never made a bad record, just great songs. I didn't really get into them. I liked them, but I didn't really get into them. But I do really appreciate those songs. This is the brilliant The Queen Is Dead. I think it was their third album. They would represent the 80s. For the 90s, this is Radiohead. This is their album A Moon-Shaped Pool. Radiohead, I did see the Radiohead in the 90s, and the radio, I generally dislike, maybe hate's too strong, I dislike gigs in these big concrete arenas. I find them soulless places. I often feel artists are sort of lost in there. I remember seeing Ray Charles in there and being thoroughly disappointed. But Radiohead are the only band I've ever seen in an arena where I think they were in the right place. Their sound, their epic soundscape just filled the place, and it was absolutely brilliant. So Radiohead, my band for the 90s. And for the 2000s, maybe my favourite current touring band. This is Wilco. This is their album Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. Brilliant album. They've had albums right through the 90s and 2000s, but they're still going strong, still producing brilliant stuff. My band to represent the 2000s. Okay, question 7. I've got this record collection. I've got over 1,000 albums. I've got over 2,000 CDs upstairs and behind the camera there as well. What are your plans for the disposition of your vinyl collection when you die? Well, obviously when I die I don't care what happens, but I do care now, and I do sometimes think about it, and I think my plan is I won't sell them. I can't sell anything, mate. I could give them away, I could give them away, but I'm likely to give them to my son, Patrick, because I know that while he is into music and he's into vinyl and all that stuff, we don't share similar tastes in music at all, really. There's a little bit of overlap maybe here and there, but what I do know is that he will look after, curate, nurture and build on this collection somehow or other, because he's just that sort of lad. And so that's my current plan. He does joke with me that he's been on Discogs and valued the lot, and he's rubbing his hands waiting for me to pop me clogs, but hey ho, there we are. Anyway, that's my question 7. Now I've lost question 8. There it is. Question 8. What is your Grail? holy grail, you know, something that you value maybe most amongst all the things you've got to do with music and all the rest of it. And I don't know, I found that one really, really difficult. And I think what I realised is it's not the monetary value of something. There are a few albums in here which I think would probably go for, you know, 3 figures. You know, original Electric Ladyland and 1 or 2 of the punk records and stuff were probably, you know, in the hundreds of pounds, I think, if you were to try and sell them now. But I'm not really interested in that at all. So what's worth a lot to me is things that people have given me as presents or given me along the way. And I just thought I'd hold up a few. I mentioned my son. He bought me this one. Sorry, I've picked the wrong bloody one out. Oh dear me. Sorry, hang on a second. Bear with me. Yeah, he bought me this one, George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. I picked out the concert from Bangladesh there, but the box, an original box, George Harrison's brilliant double stroke triple album, All Things Must Pass. Absolutely superb, in really good condition with all the bits and bobs inside it, and I really treasure that as a grail. I'll put down the concert from Bangladesh because that's not one of them. Then there's this one. This is a door hanger. It should be hanging on the outside of my door now. And my good friend Colin got me this. This is it's a picture that he's got from my video, I think, and it says "Do not disturb, sonic experience in progress." And Colin quite rightly watches my videos and picks me up. He's my sort of bullshit monitor, and when the bullshit levels get you know, too high, then he does something to take the piss out of me and put me back in my place. And on one of them I talked about the sonic experience when I was talking about, which is clearly a load of bullshit. So that was thoroughly deserved and really valued. The next one, I've mentioned this on one of my videos, but I'm going to get this sort of framed in a light box sometime. You won't be able to see that now because there's no light going through it. But this is Bone music. This is from the old Soviet Union when Western pop records were bad. This is Brian Hyland sealed with a kiss, and it's done on a copy of an X-ray of a Ukrainian-Russian rib cage there. But that is just a piece of history, and that was a lovely present as well. And then once when I was ill and in hospital, some people I worked with clubbed together and got me this brilliant book, which I'm going to reread. Actually, I've read it a couple of times. This is England's Dreaming, the Sex Pistols and Punk Rock by John Savage. A hole-in-one grand slam knockout of a book, it says, and it certainly is. It's absolutely brilliant book about punk rock and pop culture. Superb stuff. England's Dreaming. So they're the sort of things I value as a grail. But question 9, who is your absolute favourite artist of all time? Well, you won't be surprised. Anyone who's ever watched my videos or knows me, that is Mr. George Ivan Van the Man Morrison. This is his brilliant live album, perhaps one of the greatest live albums ever made. It's too late to stop now. The Belfast Cowboy, Mr. Van Morrison, my favourite artist of all time. Got into him in the early 70s. I remember seeing him on the Whistle Test, and I was just blown away with it. And when I got the actual records, and when I got Astral Weeks, his debut album, I just knew this was the man for me. And 45 albums or so later, I've got them all here. Been to see him 30 plus times over the years. Absolutely superb. My number one artist of all time. And then the last question, number 10. Imagine I've won this lottery. What would I like? Well, I would like anything, even if it was a postcard. It could even be an email. I mean, I guess Robert's in America, and I guess many of his volunteers are also in America, so I wouldn't want to incur the postage charges, but anything would be really welcome. Maybe just a nice email or something, a hello. But there is a bonus question which I'm going to go on to answer, and Robert said he'd put something extra special in the box if the winner happens to also have answered the bonus question. And so, Robert, if I am the winner, then I'd love it for you to send me one of your vests. No need to wash it, Robert, you know what I mean. That sweaty Arizona vest will be just the thing for me. So yeah, that's what I'd really like. And the bonus question is, what's my impressions? What do I think about Robert Zee's channel? Well, I'm just absolutely new to it. I've never really heard him talk about any music yet. I've just watched him doing these questions for this lottery. But I find it absolutely brilliant. The guy is an absolute star. He's just so, he makes me smile. He's very, very dry. He sometimes has his tongue right in his cheek. He's obviously, well, I'm saying obviously, I guess he's going to be very, very knowledgeable about music. There's an impressive looking collection behind his head, but I really don't know anything yet about that side of him, but I will be looking out for it. And I have subscribed to it, obviously. So brilliant stuff, Robert. Thanks for organising this lottery. Thanks everybody for listening.